All right, everybody, so what we're doing today is we're gonna go through each of these hives. It's been just over 2 weeks since the last inspection. The last inspection we looked to make sure that there was eggs in there, the queens were home, and it's pretty much the same thing we're gonna do this time. The only other thing we're gonna do this time is make sure they have enough space inside the hive. That's the only difference from the last time. If they are running out of room, we can add boxes. We also have some feed that we're gonna put on there if they need it. We got pollen patties again, and then we got our sugar syrup. But just the same as last time, we wanna make sure that there's eggs present. That means the queen is present within the last 3 days. We wanna make sure they're drawing combs still. We wanna make sure they have enough room, and we wanna make sure everything looks all right. It shouldn't take very long in each one. We might only pull out a frame or two from each one just to see how it's going. Otherwise, they should be good.
They should be.
Should be, or that's our hope. So
we'll see.
We will see.
Fingers crossed. Cross your fingers.
Alrighty, let's get after it.
Let's do it.
Curious to see if they have any propolis this time. Still not sticky.
I saw some red pollen on some of their
Look at
pollen
that.
pans.
So that's kind of a cool thing to see. These pollen patties are pretty large. They're about this big. That's all that's left. The first thing I'm noticing is there's bees all across these frames, which means we probably should add, had a rocket in there. Probably should add another box here shortly, maybe even today. This frame doesn't have much on it. This one has a bunch of bees, so I'm gonna check this one out first. I'm gonna leave this frame in. I'm gonna pull the number 2 frame. Yeah, these are real loose. It's kind of nice compared to the other ones back home.
Right? That comb has so much propolis.
Oh no.
What happened? Oh
Wax
no.
moths. So I might have to deal with that a bit.
That is no good, people.
That could be just flies, but we'll see here in a minute. So we got a good frame with some bee bread in there, all the different colors of pollen. Got some nectar stored at top. This side has eggs, so queen could be here. Interesting. So she's laying all the way out on the number 2 frame, which means we probably should add another box. Some dark pollen. Looks like there might even be eggs on this side. I got a little larva in there. All right, so you don't see a queen, do you? Let's see. It's wild though that they're laying all the way out here. I'm just gonna set this down.
Maybe don't bring your frame holder.
Because it doesn't fit in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go to the 5th frame. I wonder if she's laying that far over because they're filling the middle with. Let's see. Let's see. Well, that's a heavy frame.
So why do you smell the frame?
I'm just making sure that the brood's healthy. It looks a little yellowish, and you can get foul brood, which would have a stinky smell to it, sour, stinky smell. I wonder if that's a drone cell there. Throwing drones in up here. Interesting. The little queen cup there. So I'm gonna talk to you more than I'm gonna talk to the camera, but I'm not real happy with how yellowish that's looking. Maybe it's just the frames though, because I'm not used to the yellow frames as much. So within the next few days, a lot of this brood should be emerging. One of the things we want to look for when we're looking at these brood frames is how consistently they're laying within this frames. It should be mostly solid brood. What we're seeing here though is it's kind of spotty. But if you look in there, what's in there is actually nectar. So she's not missing cells, they've just been filled with nectar. Most of the time what you're actually gonna see on a healthy frame that's in order is this capping of honey around the outside with a band of pollen and then a solid patch of brood in the middle. This is a better example here. So we can see we got capped honey or nectar. It's probably actually syrup mostly, but then should go across, and then within that should be this band of bee bread. Feed the baby bees. I'm not seeing the queen on this one, are you?
Mm-mm.
I'm gonna pull out one more. I said only two, but curious what's going on in here. So I'm gonna set this one over here. But I am happy to see that there's eggs. I'm happy to see there's capped brood. Happy to see that they're storing a lot, and they pulled a lot of comb. And they're actually on this side too, which is good. So we should add another box. So after I'm done inspecting this, I'm gonna run down and get the other 4 boxes, be able to expand their hive, give them more space. If you don't give them more space, they run out of room, then you'll have a swarm situation. They'll start to think that they need to reproduce, free up space. But we don't want that. We want to keep as many bees in this hive as possible.
There she is.
Yeah, she's going strong. If you can get a close-up on some of that larva, that'd be good. There's some up by that capped brood. Lots of stored nectar, which is awesome. Lots of eggs, lots of... Actually, I'm gonna go one more frame. She's on this side?
No, other side.
Where'd she go? She might have ran to the other side already.
No.
No?
She's just here.
Yeah?
Oh wait, she's right there.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna put her back in there. There's even eggs on this side. Okay, slide her back down. Carefully slide her over so we know she's not getting squished. I'm gonna look at one more. I'm really curious to see what's going on in here. Starting to pull out comb on this side, which is good. This is almost solid nectar, which is good to see. Out toward the edges. I'm really tempted. Oh, she didn't like me. Poor girl. One of the other things I was looking at here is there is a good bit of pollen in there, but there's not a lot of bees in here compared to the amount of eggs and larvae. So what I want to do is boost them with the pollen patties. Rather than making them go out and forage, I want to bring it right here so the trip is shorter for the foragers. You'll get back sooner and it'll take less energy in order to feed these larvae.
Okay, so here's a recap. We put 2 more deeps on these ones because they needed them. They needed the space to move up into. The last 2 over here, they have less bees in it, less activities going on the frames. So we left it as is. We're actually gonna come back in about a week and check all of them again. See the progress on them, see what's going on. And Robert just informed me that the Kentucky beekeepers suggest to check around this time, check every week this time of year because of the nectar flow all the way up to the end of June. Any other words on the recap here of what we found? Want to talk a little bit about the little worms that we found, or maggots?
Yeah, we saw some maggots. It could be a wax moth larva. I'm gonna check back and see, but it could just be some kind of fly that landed in there and was eating the pollen patty as well. But I didn't see any signs of pests throughout the rest. I didn't see any signs of small hive beetle or wax moth. No damage to any of the combs or anything, so that's good. But one of the other big reasons why I want to check back in a week is that I think in about 2 or 3 days, maybe even tomorrow, the brood's going to start emerging. So what was the 3-pound package, whatever is left of it there, is then going to be reinvigorated by all the new brood. So it's going to, the population's actually going to start really ramping up, because probably every day we'll have new emerging brood from now on, up until they stop laying later in the year. So our population should climb dramatically in all the hives over the next week and then through the rest of the season.
So another thing to note, these last 2 hives, we think there's less bees in because these hives are so close together, they may just be drifting to each other's box. So what Robert may do is get different colored paint to paint each one, and then the bees will recognize that as their home and not drift from one box to another. So
One of the other things you could try real quick is just putting a visual reference out front. So I'm going to put one of these bricks out front so they can see it as they come out and recognize maybe that that's not their hive or it is their hive by having a visual cue. We'll see.
yeah, it's all trial and error with bees sometimes.
I'm pretty sure though these boxes will be going on next Thursday.
Okay.
Maybe Wednesday. We'll see what the weather's like.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be really hot, so we'll see. You don't want to check your bees when it's too cold or when it's too hot, because you don't want to have the boxes open, the tops open, when it's either or temperature. But that's that. Until next week.
Like and subscribe for more amazing content, and comment down below what you liked most about this video.